Good morning and happy Saturday, and more importantly, and most importantly, happy 4th of July. The movie Obsession came onto my radar last year. I remember seeing the trailer for it and being like, man, this movie actually looks really, really good. And then I just kind of forgot about it, but I wasn't surprised when it came out. And I honestly wasn't all that surprised that it was tremendously successful. So let's talk about what I think is one of the best movies of 2026, Obsession. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, click on the red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. We've seen this particular genre of horror done before. Movies like Fatal Attraction, movie where a character is obsessed with somebody to the point where they're willing to harm and kill and murder and do all these terrible things to be with them. But we haven't seen a movie where somebody is physically, psychologically compelled to be in love with somebody. It's a movie about this guy named Baron. His nickname is Bear. He has a crush on this girl, Nikki. He has some other friends, Sarah and Ian, and it's about kind of all of their relationships. But the movie ultimately centers around Bear's love for Nikki, and he's like terrified of actually asking her out because they're actual, like, real legitimate friends and have been that way for a long time. So Ian wants him to ask her out, but only when the time is right. Bear's like looking at rushing into expressing his feelings for her, and Ian knows it's gonna kind of be a mess for him. So instead, he has his chance to tell her how he feels about her. She actually gives him an opening by saying, hey, if you have feelings for me, now's the time to tell me. And he doesn't. Instead, he has this like little trick gift that's like a wish maker device. Like it's like a little piece of wood. You crack it, you say your wish, and then your wish comes true. And he thinks it's nonsense, so kind of in jest, in the moment he cracks it and says, I wish Nikki loves me more than she loves anyone else in the world. And that's immediately what happens. She falls in love with him to the point where everything she does or says is focused around pleasing him. And it's an interesting idea that's taken to like the complete maximum extreme. And I think that's what this movie does really well. It goes all out on the premise, a unique premise, something we really haven't seen before, and just completely runs away with it. It's not that she wants to stalk and kill him because she's just crazy. It's because she's physically incapable of doing anything else. Because this wish has now come true, this is who she has now become. A lot of interesting questions about free will and obviously dating and romance, but the movie really does tackle all of those questions. It's incredibly well written. The performances are tremendous. I think all of the actors are really great here. It feels kind of very like 70s horror, very like grimy film stock, and it looks like it's a movie from a different era, and that works really, really well. The movie is just spectacularly gorgeous. For that exact reason. And I know there's been a lot of talk about the cinematographer making like next to no money for this movie, but this movie was also made on a budget. And while the movie itself is awesome, I think it is one of the best horror movies ever made. I would give this like a 10 out of 10, no question. I think that it's also a damning indictment of studio culture and the mess that big budget studios find themselves in now. I'll give you a great example. This movie comes out, it makes $300 million. I think that's what it's around right now. $300 million is a ton of money. The budget for this movie was like $750,000, which watching the movie, you would have no idea. This looks like a $5-10 million movie. It just does, but it was made for a fraction of that, and it made over 300 times its budget as an independent movie released by Blumhouse, a studio that I think, or not a studio, but a distributor that I think is very hit or miss, right? I loved the remake of Halloween. I didn't like the sequel, and I hated the third one. Exorcist Believer is one of the most awful movies I've ever seen. Go watch my review. I hated it. I was very vocal about that. And then you have a movie like Supergirl, which just came out last week. It's the last movie I reviewed, and it's going to be a box office disaster. It costs $200 million to make, probably twice that to budget, and it's going to end up losing at least $100 million for Warner Brothers. which is crazy that an independent movie came out a tiny little fraction of the cost and is going to make more money, more box office take than Supergirl will make. A movie that had all of the marketing behind it. And of course, Warner Brothers inevitably, as all the other studios will learn all of the wrong lessons from this. Instead of taking $50 million and spending $100 million or $1 million on all these different projects, instead of giving 50 directors $1 million each, they're gonna try and find like the hot new face of directing, and they're gonna give them $100 million, and that money's all gonna be gone because they're never gonna learn their lesson about actually finding and curating good talent, which is something that Blumhouse, while yes, they've had their misses, they've had their W's as well. This movie, The Invisible Man, they have put out good stuff. So I think it's such a critique, like an accidental critique of the studio system, that an independent movie like this has done so well. And ultimately, like, I'm super excited for everyone that's involved in the movie. I think this movie's great. I loved it. I think Obsession is awesome. I think if you haven't seen it yet, you really should. It's dark, it's messed up, it's got a bit of a bleak ending, actually like a super duper bleak ending, which isn't really a surprise for a movie like this. A lot of movies don't really nail their ending. This one certainly does, but it also nails everything else. So thank you so much for watching the review. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you next Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern.